If you're thinking of going to Kyoto, you've definitely seen photos of the Arashiyama Bamboo Grove. It's one of the most popular spots to snap a picture, just like the Tory tunnels at Fushimi Inari Shrine. But no photo can truly capture the incredible sensation of being surrounded by this massive bamboo grove. It's like nothing you've ever experienced in a normal forest. Or is it? Today we're kicking off an exciting adventure on my next day with my 7-day JR Pass tour of Japan, but there's a twist. A typhoon is heading straight for Kyoto and it's looking pretty serious. Now, I've been to Kyoto before and I've seen a lot of the amazing sights, so missing a day of sightseeing isn't the end of the world. But I did get to see the Arashiyama amazing bamboo forest close by, as well as the many Tory gates of Fushimi Inari. But getting to Kyoto just as the typhoon was kicking off was a bit of an experience. Typhoon Lan wreaked havoc everywhere. Besides triggering landslides and floods, the storm also knocked down trees and disrupted power lines. Just as I was leaving, power was out in over 100,000 homes and over 237,000 people had been forced to evacuate their homes. Late on August 14th, the Japan Meteorological Agency issued purple heavy rain and landslide warnings for parts of Kyoto Prefecture. And yes, I was heading into Kyoto that evening on the 14th of August. I was just glad the trains were still running and the typhoon hadn't hit quite yet. As soon as I arrived in Kyoto, the severe weather was starting to kick in. I found my way to my bed for the night, a small room with a super steep staircase, and then I picked up a few things from a convenience store to hunker down for the night. The next morning, it was obvious that things weren't going well where I was, but it didn't seem too terrible. I've arrived in the middle of a typhoon, which started overnight, started raining heavily at about 4:30 a.m. and just got a renewed advisory at around 11:30 this morning here in Kyoto, and there's flooding warnings. I got some interesting alerts as well on my cell phone, which is actually a New Zealand cell phone, but automatically gets kind of like a broadcast alert with a bunch of alerts to evacuate the elderly from certain regions because of landslide risk. Now, I don't quite fit into that category yet, and I'm not in those affected areas, but yeah, it's quite sobering to see. It's probably not as bad here as it could be. The rain has certainly been constant and quite heavy. Pretty much grounded me for the morning at least. I think there's a big heap of rain that's going to pass through in the next hour or so. And then the wind has really calmed down. You can see from the trees around me here that they're not really blowing around so much. They were pretty bad about 2-3 hours ago. I'm just wearing these jandals, flip-flops, for those of you who are English like me. I've been converting now to call them jandals like New Zealanders do, like I am now. As well. I'm not going to try and do that today. Don't really fancy falling into this. There's no one around here to help me out. It's not deep. I just don't really want to break my ankle. It's actually not that cold. I'm wearing this raincoat. It's significantly colder than that it has been. It's just 28 degrees here today. I'm going to go get some lunch now because it actually just feels like rain now. And this is like perfectly okay. So I'm going to gear up and then get out for the rest of this afternoon. Kyoto had shut down for the day, so very few shops or museums or tourist attractions were open. Just remember, in Japan they take serious precautions because they've been through this before and they know what to expect with serious typhoons. So although it might be inconvenient for tourists, this is life in these parts, and we play the game by the rules that the locals stick to. So just stick to them. It's the smart move. So yeah, food, a rainy walk when it became safe to do so, and the streets were pretty deserted, though a few people were out and about like me. Then an early night in the end to pack in a couple of side trips the following morning before moving on, and I had to be getting my plans together early to make up for lost time and to make good my itinerary for the next day. This was going to be a challenge, but I was up for it. So first, I got up early to head to Arashiyama. I headed to Kyoto Station and stashed my big bag in a locker at the station because this was going to be my hub in and out of both Arashiyama and Inari this morning. The lockers are easy to use and super convenient when you're taking on a challenge like this and don't want to be weighed down by dragging your main luggage with you. I certainly could not have done this challenge without getting rid of my bag, and it was super cheap and convenient to store it in a locker at the station. The bamboo grove in Arashiyama is super famous, both locally and around the world. You can take a leisurely stroll along paths surrounded by rows and rows of towering bamboo. It's been called otherworldly, peaceful, and like something out of a dream. I wouldn't describe it quite like that. It can't really live up to the total hype and Instagram noteworthy reels. It's just a bit too busy and touristy really, but it's well worth taking the time to visit if you can. Because yes, you are surrounded by towering bamboo stalks that reach up to the sky. And to a certain extent, it is like stepping into another world if you just focus on that. The bamboo seems to go on forever, creating a mesmerizing green canopy above you. And despite being a popular tourist spot, there is a vibe of peace and calm here. The gentle rustling of the bamboo leaves in the wind does create a little bit of a soothing soundtrack above the hum and chat of the tourists. And it is kind of cool to relax and reflect a little here. It's a great place to escape the hustle and bustle of city life and just unwind. Well, kind of. I imagine it's a bit hit or miss, so you take your chances here and live with what you end up with when it comes to crowds. The bamboo grove is open all day and there's no fee, so it's best to go in the morning or at sunset during peak season. And yes, you could go at dawn, but only you can judge if that's worth it. If you're a morning person, go for it. Here's how to get to Arashiyama. From Kyoto Station, take the JR San-in or Sagano lines, included in your JR pass if you have one, to Saga Arashiyama Station. The train ride lasts approximately 20 minutes. Now, once you get to JR Saga Arashiyama Station, you can take a bus, which leaves approximately every 7 minutes, or you may walk about 15 minutes to the bamboo grove, which is what I did. Okay, next up in my challenge was heading back to my hub for the morning, Kyoto Station, so I could then strike out towards the brilliant red-orange Tory gates of Fushimi Inari, which form stunning pathways on Mount Inari. Now, one great thing about this Shinto shrine of Fushimi Inari is that it's really easy to get to. It's only a short train ride away from Kyoto Station. Just take the JR Nara line this time and get off at Inari Station. It's right by the shrine entrance. It's really convenient, so you should definitely add it to your Kyoto itinerary. First things first, let's discuss those Tory gates. These gates are absolutely stunning. There's over 10,000 of them donated by people and businesses, creating a network of paths that wind through the forested mountain. And stepping into this world is like walking through a gateway to another dimension, because you're just completely surrounded by the gate's vibrant colors and the sheer quantity, and it's all pretty breathtaking. Now, the gates have the donors' names and donation dates on them, which adds to the shrine's rich history and cultural significance. The main trail takes you up to the summit of Mount Inari. You'll also see smaller shrines on the way and fox statues. They're considered messengers of Inari. Now, I didn't have time to get all the way to the top on my quick mission because I was cut short by the typhoon, but this gives you a flavor of what to expect. Just like any popular place, there are upsides and downsides to going to Fushimi Inari. On the plus side, it's super pretty, easily accessible, and one of a kind. There's nothing else quite like it. You can expect the hike to the top to take about 2 to 3 hours, but it's totally worth it for the outstanding views and the chance to get a good workout if you've got the time. Plus, it's free and always open. You can visit whenever it fits in with your schedule. The downside is that Fushimi Inari tends to be extremely crowded, particularly in peak tourist seasons. Getting a flawless photo without any people in the frame can be tough due to the high traffic in these lower parts of the shrine. Also, the hike, while beautiful, can be quite steep in places, so it might be challenging for those with mobility issues. So, is this worth it? Absolutely. The experience of walking through thousands of torii gates, the cultural and historical significance, and the stunning views make Fushimi Inari a must visit. Just plan your visit wisely to make the most of your time here. Having completed my whistle-stop challenge of doing both Arashiyama Bamboo Grove and Fushimi Inari in one morning, I headed back to Kyoto Station to retrieve my bag from the locker, grab some food, and then headed back onto the JR Nara line to get a train because my next stop was Nara. I'll see you there.